In the previous chapter of our Total Training InDesign CS6 Essentials course, we covered how to create documents with Adobe InDesign. This chapter will cover how to use Adobe InDesign to perform quality checks of our work. So little mistakes that may enter the process while we create our documents don't become bigger, expensive problems further down the line. We will candidly discuss the capabilities and limitations of Adobe InDesign to check the quality of our work and to help us fix any problems that may crop up in the production process. In this chapter of our InDesign CS6 course, we're going to explore some of the options you have for quality checking your work in Adobe InDesign, as well as how to fix common problems that may occur, especially as you're first building new InDesign publications. Now, to do that, we need to have a file to check. I can do that by, of course, clicking on this Open folder in our Welcome screen and navigating my way to the file that we'll be working with for this chapter of our InDesign course. Or I could go to the File pull-down menu and select the Open command and again navigate my way to where I want to go and then open that file. We're going to take a quicker way. I'm going to go back here to the Welcome screen and I'm going to close that by clicking to the upper left, just like so. And then I'm going to double click on the File folder, Project Files, ID CS6 Essentials folder, just like so. And I'm going to click on the Chapter 3 subfolder, which will show a completed ttcardflyer.indd file. This is generally the fastest way for you to open up the program because what it'll do is it'll open the program as well as open the file you're working on simply by double clicking on it just like this. And what this brings up is a copy of the card flyer that we created in the last chapter of our InDesign course. Let's begin with the simplest and most common quality checking function you should do before you ever ship a finished InDesign document, and that's to do the spell checking for that InDesign document. And you can do that by going to the Edit pull-down menu and select the Spelling menu command. When I do that, I have a number of options available. I have the ability to set up dynamic spelling. I have the ability to auto-correct, which means if I'm typing directly in Adobe InDesign, it'll assume what word I want to replace if it sees something that's misspelled. I can select the User Dictionary command to open that dictionary, which allows me to add or modify words that I've placed within it. We're going to go to the very top, though, and we're going to select the Check Spelling menu command. A keyboard shortcut for that on the Mac is Command-I. If you're working on a Windows PC, that keyboard shortcut would be Control-I. I'm going to click on that command, and when I do, it's going to bring up the Check Spelling dialog box, and it will start checking the spelling for any text that's placed within my InDesign document. Now, the first thing it's found is the word email. That's not loaded into my dictionary, although I can add it, and we'll do that in just a little bit. I also have the option to search the entire document or all documents I have open. If you're working with a very large document, say a book, like a catalog or a directory, you can check every single InDesign document that you have open on your screen, and it'll spell check all of those. Now, in this case, what we want to do is we want to add the word email to our user dictionary. Now, I can just click on this Add button, and that would happen automatically. But I'd like to show you some of the options that are available by clicking on this Dictionary button right here. And when I do that, that'll open up the User Dictionary. It says it's based on our English USA language. It can be based on any language or all languages if you have multiple language dictionaries installed with InDesign CS6. We can add this to added words, within our list. We can also remove words or select words that we just want InDesign to ignore. As a general rule, I'd rather set the added words option to add that word in here. Now, in this case, the word is email, and we're going to say this is the standard spelling for how we're going to type this in our InDesign documents. It's very, very important when you add a new word to the user dictionary that you make absolutely sure it's spelled correctly. Check it in the dictionary and make sure that you put down in this little word box exactly the way it should be spelled. Because if you enter this misspelled, you're going to be misspelling it the same way forevermore. I'm going to click the Add button, which will add email to the document here. Now that's not the way I wanted it to be done. I actually wanted the E to be capitalized for the front of this. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to remove that word. It's very easy to do that if you've got it wrong. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the case-sensitive box right down here to the bottom, and then add that word. When I do that, not only does it enter the characters, but it also reads the correct upper and lowercase characters that I would use for working with this word. We're done with this, so I'm going to click the Done button. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue in my dictionary. So I'll skip it here. And what it's going to do next is it's going to go to www.totaltraining.com. That's the web address for Total Training. We're going to ignore all of them in this case, although if you were working for Total Training, you may want to include this in your dictionary to make sure that you get it spelled correctly whenever you're placing that information in here. I'm going to say ignore all. And when I do that, it's going to skip to the next thread of text. You'll notice that it went from up here to down here, and then it went to the text frame that sits in the middle. InDesign, when it searches for text in spell checking, reads it not in the order it may appear on the page, top to bottom or side to side. It reads it in the sequence of how those text frames were created from first to latest as we go through this. Now in this case, we do want to say 200 plus training courses. So I'm going to ignore all in this case. And the next thing it's going to do is it's going to pick up the hyphenated space in the second bullet that's 1-year. That's not correct. The way we'd want that to be said is two separate words, not one hyphenated word. Now, it doesn't list the suggested correction that allows us to do that, but we can enter that change right here in the Change To box. I'm just going to replace the hyphen with a space from my keyboard, and then I'm going to change it. And what it'll do is it'll skip to the end of this. Now, as I look at it, it says that it's entirely done. Spell check is done, but we still have a little bit more work to do. I'm going to click Done, and we're going to talk a little bit about spell checking. Your computer does not know how to spell. All it does is read a 250,000 word hyphenation and justification dictionary for common words that are used in the English language. In this case, because we're working with the American English installation of InDesign CS6. If that word matches up with a perfectly good word in your user dictionary, it's not going to alert you that you have a spelling problem or a grammar problem, which in this case we do. If you look at the last bullet, you'll see that it says new course added to your subscription monthly. Now, that should be plural. We add more than one course a month. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into here, and I'm going to make that plural by just clicking on an S right there. Let's go to the second page. And I'm going to show you a couple of other situations where we've got problems. Let me click in here for this word fur, F-E-R. I'm going to go Control 2 if I'm on a Windows PC, or Command 2 if I'm working on a Mac desktop. And I probably want to say that not F-E-R-U, not fur-you, but for you, F-O-R. So I'm going to change that manually. And then I'm going to skip a little bit further below. As I go to the next bullet where we talk about skill building, we'll see that useful project files reinforce what you need to learn. Now, to is a perfectly good word, T-O-O, but it's the incorrect one to use in this instance. The computer's not a very good grammarian, and it can't read that inconsistency. All it reads is that hyphenation and justification dictionary that we have, and says T-O-O is a perfectly good word. We're going to have to get rid of that second O. We'll just do that by clicking our cursor to the right of that and hitting the backspace key to make that disappear. we have one more error that's in here. And if you look at the very last line here on the second page, you'll see that it says, repeat any lesson until you fully understand it. A lesson or any lesson would work, but in this case, someone forgot to edit out one of those options and left both of them in there. We're going to get rid of the A in the space by clicking just before the A for any and dragging down to the left to highlight that letter A in the space. And I'm going to delete that by hitting the delete key. And when I do so, we'll see that repeat any lesson until you fully understand it is set. Spell checking is not an absolute solution. It's always good to literally read a hard copy of what you want to be the final version of your job. It allows you to find mistakes and correct them before they cause you serious problems down the line.